would actually stop records from going gold so they didn't have to renegotiate the terms. Because every terms and every contract, there's, terms where if you reach certain milestones, just like in an NBA contract, or, you have certain milestones in there. So if you reach this, you get to renegotiate, you get this much more dollars, you get this much more in publishing, different things. So a lot of times, labels would get you close and then shut it down so they wouldn't have to renegotiate, give you more money. And I think that's kind of what happened in our case, because, my last sales thing was like 470,000, and then nothing from there. So, that's very, very close,
to, can we rewind just a little bit? What was your Mercury deal for? 2-album, 3-album deal?
5.
5-album deal.
Yeah, five albums. And I got to the third, and then that's when I got dropped.
Okay, we'll get to that in a minute. Can you tell us some of those important tours you were part of, some of your favorite memories after the first album?
After the first album, man, I think I did more shows with Leaders of the New School and Brand Nubians than any other group. Like, it just didn't matter. Anytime we were booked, the promoters always booked them and Leaders, like, all the time. So I probably did 20 shows with Leaders and Brand Nubians back then. We really had a good time, and it wasn't tours. It was more spot dates. So it was like weekends. Every weekend you was doing shows. You know what I mean? So it was more like that. You doing promo stuff for the label. Weekends you doing shows and getting money. And it was always with Brand Nubians and Leaders, man. So, and I think the first time I performed, I Gotta Have It in New York for the record company. We performed that at, I think it was Roseland Ballroom or something like that. I can't remember the name. It was a big, big place. And the crowd went crazy. And we was there. Mercury had a lot of dance acts. And it was like it was a dance show. So there was mainly like a lot of Latin dance, dun, 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 that kind of joint, you know what I'm saying? The dance music, the 80s, 90s type Lisa Coat Jam stuff. And we murked that, man. And that's when the label really kind of Mercury kind of got behind us then and really, pushed the button.
After that, after you dropped that album, how did life change for Ed O.G?
I mean, more people coming around, of course, more phone calls, more people wanting to be down. But other than that, I pretty much stayed exactly the same. I was still in the same neighborhood. I wasn't rich. I might have been famous, but I wasn't rich. So a lot didn't change. You know what I'm saying?
So it's time to go into your sophomore album. Where were you at mentally, and what was the game plan going into your sophomore album?
Make some more hit records. Because there was pressure at that time. There was all the sophomore jinx, and everybody is saying this and saying that. So I just wanted to really make an album, with some good records on that. And I think I did that with Roxbury, and I think the label, they didn't get put as much of the button pushing that they could have, because there's some great records on there. And they did a little bit with Love Comes and Goes. And, after that, that was pretty much it.
Was there pressure from Mercury to relive the debut album to have that type of success?
Not really, man. I mean, they never put that kind of pressure, but everybody with the sophomore stuff, and so there was the pressure to try to, make some records that were gonna be hits, and I definitely thought, that album had a few of those on there for sure. And Mercury at the time was a label that if your album wasn't done, they wouldn't put out a single, and we had a bunch of good, singles. We would tell them, look, we don't even got to shoot a video. Let's just press up a 12-inch and get this out to radio now. Even though we still recording, this record is hot. You're like, let's, and they like, no, we need the whole project done. And like, you know, just a robotic system that kind of didn't work for what hip hop, you know, was at that moment. So, you know, there was those challenges, man. And then I think the Love Comes and Goes extended single that we did, which was the last single where we had the jazz mix. I had the Last Poets on there. And I did on the flip side of that, I did a song produced by my brother Ron Lawrence. Shout out Ron Lawrence. With my man Scientific, rest in peace, brother. And that song was called Going Out of My Mind. And I was dissing Mercury in the record. Crazy. Y'all can check it. It's called ED O.G. It's called Going Out of My Mind, featuring Scientific. And I was just shitting on them hard, man. Because I was mad. And the hook was really crazy because it was at the time when the guy went on the Long Island Railroad and shot a bunch of white people at the time. And the hook was getting on the train, letting off shots, and we was like, had it up to here. So after all of that, they was like, I'm cool with you. You a little too militant right now. We not feeling that. You know what I'm saying? So that's how we, you know, I started recording the third album, turned in a few songs. They was like, we don't really like them. We're just going to release you. And, you know, that was that, 95.
95?
Yeah.
At this point, is ED O.G frustrated and done with the industry? Where are you at mentally?
Yeah, mentally that was a bad time, 95. Like, just mentally, you know, trying to grasp because there weren't a lot of independent labels at the time. There wasn't like another market. So, you know, we went and tried to shop some stuff to labels, again, new product stuff that we had that was dope. But they were like, nah. So it was a depressing time. But then we found that we could actually put these records out ourselves, man. We don't actually need the record companies. And in 96, we put out our first release. It was an EP that I did, had six songs, a 6-song EP. We sold like about 13,000 vinyls on our own and made a shitload of money. And, you know, then from there, I started jumping on a bunch of different compilations, doing a bunch of features, because I had never did that up until that point. It was just the ED O.G and the Bulldogs. So then you started hearing the ED O.G, started doing stuff with DJ Spinner, started doing a bunch of different stuff. And then fast forward to 2001, that's when I put out my first ED O.G record called The Truth Hurts.
Take me back to that process. How did it feel getting back in the groove of things?
That was great to make a full album. You know, I had the making album still up to that point. We were shopping and doing all of that, but nothing had really popped off. So then when I ended up getting a deal with Ground Control, which was a West Coast label, independent label, they had Cali Agents, they had AC Alone, they had, who else was on there that was really good? A few more artists, man. I think it was Black Alicious was on there. If it's not Black Alicious, it's one of these other groups. But they had a lot of good hip hop. And they were a label that, you know, was about not only just putting out the product, but touring the product. So they booked a tour for the whole label. It was amazing. That was like really the first tour that I had really did on that scale. It was a 6-week tour across all America, tour bus, you know, TVs. And this is 2001, so the little TVs that we could sit in, you know, we still had a big old school TV in the front, but it was lit for us. That was like, man, we traveling across the country, man, from Cali all the way to, you know, Vermont and back. And, you know, that tour kind of just changed my whole perspective. And I left from that tour, went to Europe for 6 weeks after the 6 weeks in America. And it was just been on ever since then, you know, touring the world, man. That was really the start, that Ground Control tour and linking up with that label. And then there was the start of really doing tours where you're performing, 10 shows, 15 shows in a 2-week period, as opposed to doing spot dates just on the weekend. That's what I was used to.
Right. 2002, you dropped Wishful Thinking. 2004, you ended up getting with a legend named Pete Rock. How did that come about?
My management, my old management, shout out Metro Concepts, my man Tim. They suggested that, man, because we were like, what can we do different? We just did The Truth Hurts. I put out then I came back with the Wishful Thinking EP. What can we do that people are going to be interested in? Are they going to be interested in another Ed O.G album? Yes. These last 2 projects were dope, but we need to step it up, do something different, not try to just keep repeating the same stuff and stay at a baseline. We need to, so they said, man, why don't you try to, do a whole album with Pete? I'm like, yeah, that's not a bad idea. It was, one of my favorite producers, of course. Let me reach out. Reached out to him. We reached out to Fat Beats, and Fat Beats ended up putting that record out. It took 2 years. We started working on it in 2002. It came out in 2004. So it was a process to get it done. Even though Pete did like 7 songs on that record, it took 2 years to get 7 beats,
You guys both were busy. Is that why it took so long?
Nah, not necessarily. This is before the internet, 2002. So he can't just email me a stack where I could pick the 7 and we good.
Right.
He would mail me beats, cassettes, or CDs. Listen, if I like this one, then I would have to go to New York and record it because he wanted to record everything and mix it all. It's Pete Rock, that's what he wants to do. So you gotta let him do what he want to do. So getting those beats, just going back and forth to New York and getting tapes, and it just took 2 years, man. It took a long time. We didn't go there and listen to 7 beats at once. Pete is so cooked and crazy. We go there and he'll play me, a bunch of beats, dope shit. And play something you're like, yo, oh, this is for Ghostface. Come on, nigga. What is wrong with you? Stop playing me shit for everybody else. You know what I'm saying? So he would do shit like that. He's just a funny guy, man. But it was a good process, man, and turned out to be a classic project.
Indeed. Who is Special Teams, and how did that come about?
That's my man, me and my man Jason, man. We basically founded the group. The group was called The Last Word before Special Teams. We actually did 2 albums with 2 other artists, that kind of local Boston artists. One, R.I.P., my man Big Warren. He passed away, but before that, he kind of went and did his own thing after he did the album with us, and so we never put it out. Then we did 2nd album with Crumb Snatcher. Crumb went off, did his thing, and then we added this guy Slane when we changed the name to Special Teams because The Last Word wasn't working. We did 2 albums in 2 years and didn't get to put them out. So we did the Special Teams thing, added the guy Slane that my man Jay knew, and I got us a deal on Duck Down to put that record out, and became another classic boom bap album, especially for Boston, because we don't have a lot of groups. You got a lot of solo artists, dope artists, but not a lot of groups. So for Boston, that was pretty big. You had a cat from Roxbury, cat from Dorchester, and a white cat from South Boston and Rosendale, which are mainly, used to be mainly white sections of those places. So it was kind of bringing the city together.
Did this teaming with these guys, did that expand Ed O.G's fan base?
Yeah, exactly, man. It was another kind of strategic move on my part to, after the Pete Rock album, I don't want to come back with just another Ed O.G album. You know what I mean? So I want to do something different. So I came back with the group album a few years later. And, we did that, and that worked out well. Did a lot of stuff off of that. Springboarded my man Jay and springboarded Slane. And, that's what it was.
In 2009, you teamed up with another legend, Master Ace, on Arts and Entertainment. How did that come about, and how was it working with such a legend?
Oh man, it was great, man. You know, Ace is my brother, another hip hop brother. We had did a lot of stuff together, features. A lot of people had paid me to jump on a record and paid him, and we find ourselves on a bunch of records. So, 2004, I jumped on his tour, the Long Hot Summer tour in Europe, and that tour was like 8 weeks, bro. It was grueling, man. It was so dope. And you know, he had jumped on my album on the truth, not the truth first, my own worst enemy with Pete, and I had jumped on his album. Um, and then I just talked to him about doing a project together. I actually just like doing a mixtape, do a couple of few new songs, and you know, throw all those features together. And let's just put it out, see what happens. He was like, Ace is particular. So he's like, I don't know. And then, you know, my man, Supreme One, Serge Gainsborough, he came through, and he's a producer. He produced the Wishful Thinking EP. And he's like, yo, I want to produce an album with you and Ace. I got a budget. Talk to Ace, see what's up. I said, all right, cool. Talked to him. The budget was fine. He said, let's go. We started recording. And long story short, the budget ran out. And we had some really dope songs. So me and him kind of took control of the project from there, and put it out on his label, and had it distributed by my peoples up here at Traffic. Um, and you know, made another classic record, man. You know what I'm saying?
So,
Classic boom bap hip hop, man.
what did you learn the most working with such a legend?
Ace taught me a lot, man. He taught me way to definitely a way to structure my rhymes with metaphors. You know, because before I would kind of just have metaphors all over the place and not kind of, you know, come to the boom to hit you. So he taught me how to really set those up, man. You know what I'm saying? Like, yo, nah, don't put it here. Put it at the end. Set it up. You know what I'm saying? I was like, oh yeah. And you know, ever since then, I've been on it. And it's always good to work with other artists who bring the best out of you. You know, it's friendly competition, but you know, I don't want to get slayed on any track. So I'm bringing my A game every time. And you know, it's the same with him. So that's what I think made that album so great, because neither one of us wanted to get outdone on any song.
Right. Was your last project Freedom? Is that your last project you came out with?
That was the last one, yeah. I mean, after the Ace project, I had A Face in the Crowd.
Okay.
That was 2011. 2013, Intelligence and Ignorance. 2015, After All These Years, and then Freedom.
Can you take us back to Freedom, and what was the mind state of Ed O.G. working on that project?
Oh man, that was a great album. I think that's one of my best albums to date. If y'all don't got that, check that, stream it, do what you got to do, but listen to it. Great album from, you know, beginning to end. I just think, you know, that's just like that was the album that I really wanted to make. I had came up with the Freedom. I had seen that it was a Bob Marley poster in my young guy Born studio, Born in G Dot, that had a picture of him, and it had Freedom, and the Edo, it was written in all different letters, and I'm like, wow, Edo's in Freedom. Oh man, so it kind of blew my mind, and you know, I wanted to build on that and make it a you know, uh the title of the album, and really kind of shape it around there. And I think, you know, the songs on there are great, man. Really, really dope songs. Hate, Boom, the title track, Freedom, Brick Buildings. I mean, the list goes on. She has so much soul. It's like, you know, it's a really great project, man. I'm proud of it. I'm proud to stand by it. And I actually put out the documentary with it. So it came with a 54-minute documentary on my career. And that'll be up on all streaming services, even though it's, you know, a little late. If you even buy the album, you didn't get to see the documentary. You can't upload it, put chips in there, so you can't upload it online. So the people who bought it, seen it, but it'll be to the masses next month on all streaming platforms.
So That project dropped in 2017. What has Ed O.G been up to for the past few years?
Touring, man. What I wanted to do with the Freedom album was tour it for at least 2 years, and that's what I did. I wanted to make a project, and